Images have been vivid and disheartening as firefighters do battle against massive wildfires in the West, especially in Colorado, where nearly 350 homes have gone up in flames in Colorado Springs. That's where just 2 years ago, city officials cut services to deal with a dwindling budget after local voters turned back a property tax increase. Since then, Colorado's second largest city has auctioned off its police helicopters, trimmed its staff on the police force, as well as the fire departments. And that has many locals talking about how the response to the current Waldo Canyon fire might have been different if services were fully funded. For more on how this is not just a problem for Colorado Springs, we turn to the KCBS Newsline and Joshua Dunn, who is an associate professor of political science at the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me.
First of all, talk about how big of an issue this is right now in Colorado Springs with all of the service cuts. Did anyone envision this disaster as a possibility?
No, I don't think so. You never really envision a wildfire sort of entering basically an urban area and burning 350 homes. So I don't think anyone expected a tragedy or a disaster of these proportions. What happened last Tuesday, when that was the worst day for us, I think was really unexpected.
Mm-hmm. And so how much has been cut of services and that type of thing in Colorado Springs?
Well, there have been some cuts in services. Most of the cuts, though, haven't come from public safety, the fire and police. There have been cuts there, but they have been severe, and I think actually they occupy a larger percentage of the budget now than they did 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, when they were making the cuts, they really did try to protect those essential services. So it was things like turning off street lights, not watering grass in parks, which actually is a pretty big expense when you have as many parks as we do for a city our size. So things like that. And then, of course, there were some things which were symbolic, but overall I don't think affected the effectiveness of public safety, like auctioning off police helicopter and those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. So is there a point here where, I would imagine it's property taxes are down and people have voted not to increase those taxes. Are there other revenue streams that are down in Colorado Springs as well?
Oh, sure, sales tax, and we're heavily dependent on sales tax in Colorado Springs. I think at least half of our revenues come from sales tax, and so I think the biggest problem for the city now is the fact that you've had this massive disaster, and of course that means that people aren't going to be coming to the city, canceling plans for vacations, and so there'll be less sales tax revenue. And we do tend to get a lot of sales tax just for tourists during the summer.
Mm-hmm. Well, is there a solution here? I mean, nobody wants to increase their taxes, and we keep hearing a lot of politicians with that edict as well, that we will not raise taxes. So how do you pay for these kind of things?
Sure. Well, I actually think that Colorado Springs, if you make the case that we need to raise revenue in order to provide these essential services, I think that the people of the city will vote for that. What happened 3 years ago when they voted down these proposed tax increases is really a repudiation of the city government. That our city government had become completely dysfunctional. If you watched city council meetings, it was like public access vaudeville. It was really quite embarrassing. And we had a change in our institutions. We moved from a council-manager system to a strong mayor system. And I think that has started to restore some confidence in city government. What happened in 2009 is people just weren't willing to turn over any more of their money, particularly during an economic downturn, to a group of people that they just didn't trust to use it efficiently or effectively.
So what is the solution then?
Well, if after this disaster, I don't think there's going to be any haste in trying to decide, well, what went wrong. We're going to have to sit and reflect on what could have gone differently, if anything. And I'm not certain that actually anything could have gone differently. If you travel up there, it's shocking that they saved as many homes as they did. By all rights, the northwest quadrant of the city should have burned. So you really do have to credit these firefighters. But if we do discuss the disaster and decide that perhaps things could have gone differently, I think the city will be receptive to tax increases. But that's something that you don't want to rush into immediately after a disaster like this. You don't want precipitous action. So it'll take some time, but it also could be that the use of our resources could be more focused or effective or whatever. But those things are still just out there. We just don't know those things yet.
Mm-hmm. And do you foresee similar types of situations happening across the country?
Oh, certainly. I mean, the cuts in Colorado Springs, I actually think were fairly modest, or even smaller than what you saw in comparable cities around the country, particularly to public safety. But this is something that everyone's faced in light of the economic downturn, and so I really think this is something that most municipalities are going to have to wrestle with in the coming years.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Once again, that is Joshua Dunn, who's an associate professor of political science at the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs.